What's going on, guys? It's your boy King Chaser from Royal Slice Gaming, and today coming at you with another video. Today's video is another Pokemon team video. Today we're doing one of my favorite anime of all time, and we're gonna go into a certain crew off of that one, and just talk about those certain members. Do a little bit of their design, talk about their character, and things like that. I will preface this by saying a lot of these teams may share types, so this really isn't certain typings per thing, so it's not like creating them as a gym leader or a specific team. This is just giving the Pokemon I think fit them the best. This is the first list that's really going to show that off. And today's list is we're talking about One Piece, and One Piece is probably, if not my favorite, one of my top favorite animes of all time. And today we're talking about the Straw Hat Crew specifically, and we're going to go into all these members, talk about each character, and go into their team. So let's go ahead and start this off. Starting off with the captain himself, we're going to talk about Luffy. I did this in the order that they joined, so we're going to do this first, and then we're going to hop into this. So Luffy is Monkey D. Luffy. So just based off his name, I gave him a lot of monkeys. And he's got the Gumu Gumu no Mi fruit, and which allows him to stretch his arms like rubber and go into different gears, and that'll give him different power boosts to himself. So a lot of the Pokemon I gave him represent that. We'll go into each one, so I'm just going to list it off, and then we'll go into each one. So first off, we've got a Primeape, a Hariyama, a Infernape, a Passimian, a Machamp, and a Hitmonlee. So the Primeape himself he's just a very physical fighter. He'll be right up in your face and he'll punch you. His name is Monkey D. Luffy, so that's one of the monkeys that I've given him. Next up is Hariyama. I gave him Hariyama specifically for Gear 4th. Gear 4th is his Bound Man, specifically Gear 4th. He's got different variations of those. But for his Bound Man form of Gear 4th, which I'll show on the screen so you guys can know what I'm talking about if you haven't watched the show. Very round, very physical, bounces a lot, and I had to give something that was round and very physical with that, so I gave him Hariyama. Hariyama is more of a sumo wrestler type thing, but Bound Man himself can be that. He uses his palms a lot rather than his fists around some things. He does have King Kong Gun, which is his fist, but a lot of times he is using his palm as his hand instead of his fist. Next is Infernape. I gave him a fire type on this team specifically for Red Hawk, and then one of his other moves that he's used recently, so I can't remember. It's basically Red Hawk, but with Gear 3rd. But I gave him the fighting type Monkey Infernape because he is Monkey D. Luffy. He has some fire abilities, and he is a very strong fighting Pokemon. Next is the Passimian, same thing. He's a monkey. I don't really know too much about Passimian. I've never really used one, but I know he is a type of monkey. And he's a football player, basically, or a rugby player, whichever one. And I think it's very fitting to him because he's a very physical attacker, just like Luffy is, and he's a monkey. Next is Machamp. I gave him Machamp specifically for Snake Man. You may be wondering why Snake Man? Why not just like Gumu Gumu no Gatling, which has a bunch of hands? But I gave him it for Snake Man. Specifically for like Culverin and things like that. It seems like he's punching you with different things, but it's just like redirecting the attack, and it makes me think of like a cross chop coming at you from different angles, but it will still hit you. But you could also say that it is like Gumu Gumu no Gatling, which is him not growing multiple arms. It's just him punching really fast, that it just looks like he has multiple arms. Hitmonlee is because he can stretch out his arms and his legs, sort of like rubber, just like Luffy can, and he'll attack you with them. It's mainly been shown with those whenever he's using like a jump kick or something in the anime. It'll like extend out his leg and things like that. Luffy can do the same. He's got it'll come to me, Jet Whip and Jet Stamp. That's the first ones I thought of. He's got them as just normal, but I just thought of the Jet ones because I was thinking Gear 2nd. So yeah, that's Luffy. A lot of his is just basically because his name's Monkey D. Luffy. He's a very monkey-like character, and he can stretch. His next up is technically the vice captain. His name's Zoro, Roar Nora Zoro, and with his team, he's a sword fighter, and he's basically another fighter of the team, but he uses a 3-sword style. So with him, I gave him a lot of physical sword type fightings, and it basically turned down to like steel, basically, if you wanted to give it a random team. But for Zoro, first we got an Aegislash, a Scizor, an Escavalier, a Bisharp, a Haxorus, and a Galarian. I said Galarian Farfetch'd, but it's mainly just Surfetch'd. So with the Aegislash, the Escavalier, and the Surfetch'd, is because they all use a sword. Aegislash is a sword. He doesn't just use himself, he is a sword. And that works because Zoro uses cursed weapons, so weapons that have been possessed by either the user or just by the sword themselves just becoming cursed, which led me to think Aegislash because he is basically a cursed sword. He's a sword that's been brought back to life by the power of ghosts. Escavalier and Surfetch'd are just really just either sword users. Escavalier isn't really a sword, he's more of like a javelin, but he does use sword type attacks. He can use like X-Scissor and other Swords Dance and other things like that. I know Swords Dance isn't really a attacking move, but it is a sword move. Got you there. And Surfetch'd, he literally has a giant leak that's a sword. Not much I need to go into with that. The Scizor and Bisharp, they don't really use weapons. However, they do have very physical attacks. Bisharp uses his arms that have like the little blade coming off of it to attack like that. And Scizor just uses his big claws, but he is a steel type, so they're very sharp claws. And also his Mega Evolution has like chompers, basically, bigger claws that sort of look like razor blades. Haxorus, he's got the little head thingies coming off, and he's also a very sharp type Pokemon. I wanted to give him a Haxorus just because in the show he's technically killed a dragon, and I wanted to give him a dragon to represent the fact that Zoro has tamed and killed a dragon before. Alright, next up is the cat burglar, Nami. Nami is seductive, to say the least. But she does also use like a, it's called a climb attack, which she can control weather. She's the navigator of the crew. And so for that, I gave her a lot of, basically the fairy typing. A lot of these are fairy type. I think all of them are actually. But first, we've got a Gardevoir, a Primarina, a Hatterene, a Wigglytuff, an Alchemy, and a Sylveon. I didn't really give her anything to express the navigation aspect, mainly just the Primarine to show that she can navigate through the water, just because she is a mermaid, so she can swim fast through the water. She knows when to go through the water. Just like Nami, she knows the directions to take with the waves and with the actual climate, and figure out what the best route to take would be. Everything else is just basically, that's just her character. She's either real funny and just comical, like a Wigglytuff, and an Alchemy to me would be. But the Gardevoir and Sylveon and the Hatterene are basically because I'm not even going to go into that one. You can figure it based on the picture on the screen. Alright, next up is the God Usopp. So Usopp is a sort of like a fighter. He's technically the sniper of the Straw Hat crew. He's a lot like Nami. They're everybody's basically human except for Chopper and Jinbe, but he's basically like a weaker human compared to the other guys. And for him, I gave him a Heracross, a Yanmega, a Glycopod, an Armaldo, an Orbeetle, and a Venusaur. So I gave him these basically. The Heracross specifically for when he was training with Herculean. There you go. And he uses a lot of bug type and a lot of plant type different combat attacks with his new weapon, the Kabuto, that he can use to fight with. I gave him the Venusaur specifically for a lot of his vines and a lot of his like big mushroom attacks. He's got one that's like a giant trampoline that makes me think of the flower. He's also got one that can summon a flower. So I gave him those. A lot of these are just really just based off his character. He uses more grass than he does bug, but I didn't want to give him just a bunch of grass because there's not really a lot of representative grass. And they're not really that strong. And he can be strong with his Pop Green. I remembered the name of it finally. Alright. Next up is Sanji. He's the cook of the Straw Hat crew, and for him, there's two reasons I gave him this. A lot of his attacks, especially his Diambo Jambe, is a fire type attack. He spins in a circle or just like creates it now, and it's just like a big fire leg. But he's also using like a cook, so he has to be on the grill and things like that. So for his thing, I gave him the Semi-Seer, the Talon Flame, Galarian Darmanitan, a Blaziken, and a Rotom Heat. So first we'll start with the Semi-Seer and the Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat is an oven. That should be self-explanatory. Semi-Seer's name is Sear, so you'll be searing up a steak or searing other types of food that you can do. Talon Flame is basically just a really fast physical attacker, just like Sanji. Blaziken uses his feet a lot. He's got Blaze Kick as his main move, and that's like his move that he basically created, I guess you would say. Just like Sanji's Diambo Jambe is basically a fire kick. And Galarian Darmanitan is because he does have his very burning physical passion, but he is also a chill guy most of the time, so I had to give him a counter for both. Specifically when a woman is in danger, White Knight Sanji will flare up, and basically his entire body will get caught on fire. Not like actual burn, but just like on fire. Alright, next up is the Doctor, Tony Chopper. Tony Chopper has eaten the human fruit. And so he's basically a reindeer or a raccoon dog, depending on your location in the show, who has eaten the human fruit and became basically a human / reindeer. So for him, I gave him a lot of just different animal-based Pokemon, some stuff that he can transform into. Whenever he uses his Rumble Balls, he can transform into these things. So first we'll do a Double, a Stantler, a Slacking, a Hitmonchan, a Mienshao, and a Lopunny. So the Hitmonchan and Mienshao are there to represent his Kung Fu point. He doesn't really have like a boxing point, but he's got a Kung Fu point, which is what those two represent. I gave him a Slacking, sort of to represent his monster point, basically because Slacking is one of the strongest Pokemon in the game. But I did have to limit him down, sort of like Monster Point did in the original. When he first used it, he couldn't control it. So I sort of used that by giving him a Slacking, which has Truant, which means he can't attack every turn. I gave him a Lopunny because of Carrot. They sort of have like this little connection thing now. Carrot's thinking that Chopper's like her older brother. So I gave Chopper a bunny to represent that connection with Carrot. Stantler is because of Walk Point Chopper. He's basically be turned back into his regular reindeer form, but it is like a big actual reindeer. I could have given him a Sawsbuck. These two are interchangeable, Stantler or Sawsbuck, depending on how you want to look at it. And a double is because of Guard Point. He becomes like a giant mound of fur, so it makes me think of like a giant sheep. So I gave him a double because of that. Alright, next on the list is Nico Robin, and I can't remember what the name of her devil fruit is, but it lets her grow hands, basically like a hand fruit. Lets her spawn hands on people, combine hands into different appendages. She's like combine like 1,000 hands into one big hand, or 1,000 hands into one big foot. And for her, I gave her the psychic type. For her team, it's an Espeon, a Gothitelle, I don't know how to say that name, a Reuniclus, a female Meowstic, a Xatu, and a Reuniclus. Or Runagigas. Sorry, I don't know why I said Reuniclus. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But a lot of these are just like to express her powers. It's not really psychic, it's more of like an actual physical thing, but she does summon stuff, which makes me think of psychic. Didn't have a lot to go on with her comparing to a Pokemon team. So the Espeon and Meowstic are basically like that. The Gothitelle, or however you say it, is representing her as a human, basically, as like a human type Pokemon. Is very, not really seductive in that type, but she is, you can see on the screen. I don't really want to get into that, but you can see on the screen there. Now the Reuniclus, the Xatu, and the Runagigas are because of Robin's dream, basically. She wants to learn the history of everything, and so I gave her a Reuniclus and a Runagigas because... Reuniclus... Oh, I did say it right. Okay. A Reuniclus and a Runagigas because they represent that fossil type thing, and her like hidden history. Runiclus has the word ruin in it. It's ruins that she tries to find. The other one is a giant, like, actual ruin or wall art that became a ghost, which is pretty cool. Zatu is another, like, psychic. He is psychic flying, but he's also got the aesthetic of, like, a totem pole, which makes me think of history as well, which is what Robin's going after. Alright. Next up is Mr. Super himself, Frankie. And with Frankie's team, I've got a Kling Klang, a Probopass, a Registeel, a Duraludon, a Rotom Frost, and a Toxicity. So I gave him these. Some of these seem a little weird, but we'll get into it. Kling Klang, Registeel, and Duraludon are there to represent his, like, physical, like, tinkering ability. He has the shipwright, so he's always fixing the ship and creating new things for the ship. Probopass is only because he's got a giant red nose, and Frankie can touch his nose and change his hair, so there's the connection there. That's really, I'm honest, that's really the only reason that Probopass is on the team. Rotom Frost, I had to give him something different that was like an actual metal type thing, and it's a refrigerator, and so it has cola, which is what Frankie runs off of. He runs off cola. He can open his chest cavity, and it's basically just a ice cold refrigerator with pumps that connect the cola to his body. One Piece is weird, and Toxicity is there just because it's a physical electric attacker. I could have gave him that because he's more of a rock star to Brook, but I gave him that. Not really anything connecting wise, but it's just a cool Pokemon I added in for Frankie. Alright, next is the Soul King, Brook. And based on his name, Soul King, I gave him the ghost fruit, the ghost typing. His soul fruit, I can't remember its actual name. It's useless until you die. It basically gives you a reset on life when you die. So what happened with Brook is he got trapped in the Florian Triangle. He died in the Florian Triangle, and then his soul came back. It took forever because he was trapped in the Florian Triangle. His soul got lost, and then when it got back to him, the only part of him that survived was his afro. He became a skeleton man, but his afro stayed because it had thick roots, according to Brook himself. Again, One Piece is weird. So we're going to get in this one. Got a Dusknoir, a Spiritomb, a Dhelmise, a Meloetta, an Obstagoon, and an Exploud. So I gave him the Dusknoir and the Spiritomb to represent his powers of being able to, like, control ghosts. He can pop out his ghost from his actual skeleton body and use it around, sort of countering that. I gave him a Dhelmise because Dhelmise is an anchor, and Brook's a pirate. He's been on 2 different crews, and it'd be cool to see, you know, it's an anchor, and pirates use anchors on their ship. Everybody uses an anchor on the ship to stop, but, you know, it's shaped like a pirate anchor, like an older anchor, and I think that really fits him there. The next 3 are because he is the songwriter or musician. That's the word I'm looking for. The musician of the Straw Hat crew. So I gave him a Meloetta, an Obstagoon, and an Exploud. Meloetta because he does play some, like, smaller songs like Blink Sake. It's like a on the piano type song. But he's also a rock star. He became the Soul King in the 2-year time skip. He's an actual rock star. He has a shark guitar, which is like the coolest thing ever. And so I gave him the Rockstar Pokemon Obstagoon, and, you know, Rockstar's got to have some bass, so I gave him an Exploud. And the last up on the team is the newest member of the Straw Hat crew, Jinbe. We don't really know a lot with asterisks about Jinbe. We don't really know. We know more than you'd like to let on, but he is a fishman. He is the what's the word called? Not shipwright. The dude controlling the ship. I can't remember its name. I'll pop it up, like, in the video, like the little asterisk name. But Jinbe is a fishman, so I gave him the water type. He can use Fishman Karate. It's his main attacking move. He's actually pretty broken underwater. He can pick up the water basically and throw it at somebody. He can also create tidal waves when he's in the water. He can actually shoot out little like water pellets from his fists and his palms, which are pretty cool. So for his team, I gave him a Gyarados, a Sharpedo, a Kingler, a Urshifu Rapid Form, a Barraskewda, and a Feraligatr. So I gave him a few of these. We'll get into this. So he is, like I said, a fish man, but he is part of the shark race. So I gave him the Sharpedo and the Barraskewda and Feraligatr to express that. Sharpedo is mainly like a shark, but the Feraligatr and the Barraskewda are very physical attackers. Feraligatr is an alligator, exactly, because it's an alligator. So they got big teeth, big claws, sort of like that, but it also fits his design aesthetic. He's a blue shark, sort of like Feraligatr. Barraskewda is just a very fast physical fish. Sort of, he can rapidly swim through the water just like Jinbe can. Gyarados, I gave him a Gyarados because it's another strong water type Pokemon. It's very gracefully swims through the water, but it'll actually attack you if you need to, just like Jinbe will. A Kingler, I needed him to have a jokey character a little bit, so I gave him a Kingler, but I also gave him a Kingler because it's a very physical, strong crab. Needed just something else to sort of expand the fish. You know, you gotta love the different types of fish. I know a crab isn't a fish, but it's close enough. It's a sea creature. And I gave him the Urshifu Rapid Form because it is water type, but it is also using karate, just like Jinbe's fighting style uses Fishman karate. And I think the Urshifu fit there. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to take you guys along on my One Piece rant about the different characters, and I was able to give them Pokemon teams. If you like this video and like the teams I gave them, leave the video a like. If you have any other animes or different show or different ideas that you'd want to see me come up with Pokemon teams, or Bryce come up with Pokemon teams, let us know in the comments, and hit the little bell to stay notified whenever we post. I'm going to go ahead and head out of here, get something to drink because my throat's hurting, and it's already been 22 minutes, so I'll catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.